We are going to get started here. I think we're 5 minutes past the hour. Probably enough time for everybody to trickle in. Thank you all for joining us today for our June 17th community call. It's been a few months since our last call, but we are excited to have you all join us here today. We're going to be talking about our take on building in a bear market. Spoiler alert, we are excited about it. This is our time to shine. Next, we're going to talk about some updates to our research, some updates to the platform, the front end. Talk about vPremia, its current progress. Premia v3, we'll be discussing its progress. And if you're a protocol, market maker, or strategic investor interested in Premia or v3, now's the time to reach out. And then we're going to be talking about what we're thinking about next over the coming months, a year, etc. Moving on. It's true. True builders love building in a bear market. We consider ourselves true builders. Some of the reasons are quite obvious. Some of them are not. Some of the more obvious reasons is that talent becomes accessible. Engineers, designers, smart contract developers, auditors all become easier to access when there isn't as much money flowing around. It allows us to get the talent that we want, retain them at budgets that make sense. And we don't have to compete for attention with Ponzi's whose only purpose is to pump out massive APY numbers, right? Those things kind of crash to zero during this kind of market, and things with real value, real revenue shine. Things like Premia. So we're excited to see that there will be less noise and more building over the coming months to year. Partnerships and collaborations also become easier, as the noise and the Ponzi's kind of fade away. Other protocols see that the true builders are left, and they tend to build together. We see that happening. Finally, we think that Premia has plenty of runway to emerge as a winner, both with our existing treasury, our team, our protocol, our platform, and with what's coming in V3. We think that we have plenty of revenue generation to come, especially because options are always in demand. Whether you're in a bear market, a bull market, or a crab, there is always a reason to hedge with options. And we're still seeing that now with our volumes and TVL still increasing in a bear market. Obviously, it dumped because the price went down, but volume is still increasing day over day. Moving on to a research update. Excited to say that there are no open questions remaining for the core v3 protocol. We are rounding the corner there. Only things really left to be worked on there are small design tweaks here and there. We're currently running simulations on our liquidity provider payoffs, back testing that and protocol revenue generation to see, different fee structures, etc. How does that affect protocol revenue? How does that affect LP expected revenue? And how does that affect expected option prices? We're also looking at different pricing mechanisms. We've come across a pricing invariant that we're very happy with, and we're excited to share that when time gets closer. And of course, we're running formal verification on all of the code that we create, all of the processes that we're creating to ensure that everything works as it's supposed to and there are no leaks or exploits possible. And we are finalizing some structured product vault designs on top of our core v3 protocol. The design for most of those is complete, and we're moving on to the implementation phase. Sneak peek of that, mostly I'll say the ones that I'm comfortable mentioning now would be a Delta Hedging Vault and a standard Delta Maturity Vault. We plan on those going live with the v3 protocol, but we are working on others that will be added later on, and we're excited about the possibility of future structured products built on top of v3. One thing that's really exciting about v3 is it's very composable, and so it makes it so that Premia or any other protocol can build these structured products on top of the base liquidity layer, and it's all interoperable. Moving on, v3 outline has been presented to the engineering teams, including the Python implementation, the simulations that we've been running, and the testing suite so that they can ensure that everything that we've done on the research side of things makes sense and that they can replicate it on the smart contracts. Um, and they're starting development of that now and porting over everything from Python into Solidity. And of course, with that, we also passed on our research documentation, the reports from our simulations, etc. Now I'm going to pass it on to Coin to cover platform updates.
Thanks, Froggy. So let's hop into numbers first. It may surprise people who aren't familiar with Premia just looking at our TVL, but Premia is currently doing approximately 1 million in notional volume a month. On Arbitrum, we've seen an increase of 47% since our last community call, from approximately 64.1 million to over 94 million. On mainnet, volume has gone from mainnet volume is up 36% from the last call, going from 20.7 million to 28.2 plus. And on Phantom, since launch on the 29th of April, we've done close to 13 million in volume there. So a few updates to the application. We have a new underwritten options table. User notifications and history section is an update that came out that a lot of people may have not noticed, but user notifications are extremely granular, and you can have them update you and give you a notification for pretty much any time there's a change in your liquidity. So as an LP, if you have options that you've underwritten, they've been exercised, you have liquidity that frees up, anything that impacts your liquidity, you can get a notification for that. And then the history section to show all of these time points where you've had your liquidity used, you've had options exercised, you've had liquidity freed up as well. So you can kind of get a full detailed report of how your assets are being used within the liquidity pools. Coming up, we have a new pool page and asset drop-down menu that you will soon see on a UI update. A new vaults page, which will be going live with one of our partners, which I'll talk about on the next page. And vPremia. We've been talking about it for a little while, and we're going to go over that a bit near the end of this presentation. So let's pop on to partnerships and integrations. So we've been talking to a lot of different protocols over the last 2-3 months as we've been preparing for V3, but I wanted to just talk about the ones that will be most immediately prevalent, I guess, to V3 of Premia, or who will be using in preparation to V3. So Sherlock, if you're not familiar with them, they're a protocol that will be helping us out with sourcing audits, bug bounties, as well as providing insurance for the protocol in the future. Umami, I think everyone's pretty familiar with, but we've been talking with them. We talked with them about a month ago and went over different types of vault strategies, and we're kind of throwing around ideas. So we're very interested to work with them a bit more deeper once V3 goes live. We have Knox Vaults, recipient of our grant that I mentioned in the last slide. I was talking about a vaults page, so we will go live with some vaults from Knox Vaults when they're ready to go. And Curve. So something new that we'll be doing in V3 is enabling Curve pool tokens to be used. You'll see tokens like V3 CRV, hopefully as long as nothing happens with USDT in the next few months. So there'll kind of be an abstraction to just USD, and users can deposit, DAI, USDT, USDC into the pools. So let's move on to vPremia and research. DK.
Awesome. Thank you. So vPremia, obviously between V3 and vPremia, we've been working on a lot lately. We can say that vPremia is nearing its completion at this point, and in lockstep with vPremia, we're going to be kind of addressing. We get questions in the Discord about what does the current tokenomics look like. So that's something that we'll be putting out pretty soon here. To kind of look at what the tokenomics just some basic details that you guys might want to use or socialize in terms of like emission schedules, allocation of the non-circulating tokens to strategic partners. We got founder vesting extensions. We'll be putting out a notice announcement on that, and then as well as some token sale restrictions that we have for between some of the strategic partners, and then as well as some of the founder allocations in terms of what can be done and what can't be done, and what must be followed, and in terms of the sale of those allocations. And then the last thing to discuss, that obviously the X Premia, unlocked X Premia, is going to be replaced with V Premia. Now, we want to have this as an open community discussion, and we want to get your feedback on this, because one thing that we're discussing potentially is, do we want that locked V Premia to be potentially used to underwrite Premia calls, right? So, I mean, if we're doing our job right in terms of how the algorithm, the pricing mechanism is used, is that being a liquidity provider is profitable long term, even in times of volatility, right? So, is that something that we would like to do? Is it something that we want to have as an option? Is it something that we want to, make sure that we have a robust liquidity pool of the Premia token by utilizing all that locked Premia in there? These are all kind of outstanding questions that we want the community to kind of engage with us in the Discord. And then moving on to stuff that we're thinking about. All right, so V3 is a game changer for us, right? Fully parameterized options is what the end goal is, right? At least for this product, the core product that we have right now. Obviously, we've been thinking about other products to build on top of Premia, but in terms of the option product, that is the end all be all. So if you are a market maker, if you are want to be strategic partners with us in the future, if you are a protocol that wants to utilize some of their treasury to underwrite options, now is the kind of time to just, to come to us, reach out to us, and we can kind of discuss what the next steps would be to do that as we're writing those smart contracts. If there's maybe additional functionality that we hadn't thought about, or just if you need a custom solution on how that treasury is managed, that's something to come to and have that discussion with us. Now, another thing is regarding the different vaults of the grant recipients. There's going to be probably a few UIs that we have in the future, right? So the structured products, the vaults, there is a need for a auction process to sell, to be the counterparty sale of that trade. And so there's going to be, different interfaces for those auctions for market makers. We're going to have different interfaces for some of maybe our potential extreme traders versus vanilla traders. There's going to be, quite a few. And so we want to make sure that the streamlined process, the vanilla process, is as easy to use as possible. But when there is a more technical need, those will also be available. So again, if, protocols, market makers, as we build that out, if there's something specifically that you want. Now, we've already been speaking to a few protocols to manage their treasury with options, and then also market makers. But if we haven't started discussions with you, please reach out. Systematic risk. All right, so obviously since our last call in April, the market's been super turbulent, super volatile, and we can happily say that Premia has worked as expected, right? We didn't have any issues, even with the some of the tokens that we had listed within the platform. They all worked as we expected. But with that said, some of the tokens that we had put on the platform, obviously some of them, had some issues. So that's another thing we've been thinking about. Is there a different vetting process that we could do for tokens that we add? Is there a different, risk procedure that we follow in terms of how we integrate? All stuff that's, top of mind. It's always been top of mind, but more so now than ever. And again, we're going to continue to put our head down and build with the market conditions. We've been super focused lately. We're getting a ton done behind the scenes, and we have seen this with a lot of different groups recently, that reputation is everything. Like, we already knew that reputation is everything, and we're going to continue to deliver. And then the other last thing I would note before I close the call down is the daily volume is 1 million, not the monthly volume. But I'm sure that if you were looking at the statistics, you would already have known that. But a little slip of the hand there. All right, thanks, guys. We're going to move to the community call now, to the community room in the Discord, and do the AMA. Thank you very much.